Hey there, and welcome to The Explainer. You know, we've all seen it in the movies, right? These epic space battles with blinding flashes of light. But have you ever stopped to wonder why the same tech that's piercing starships on screen is, in our world, pretty much just used to annoy our cats? So what's the real story with laser technology? Let's dive in and figure it out. I mean, it's a massive question, isn't it? When you look at the sun, you're looking at this incredible, almost unbelievable source of power. Is it actually possible to harness that light, to weaponize it, and create the kind of blasters we see in science fiction? Or is all that just destined to stay on the big screen? And this slide, this really gets to the heart of that disconnect. On one hand, you've got this vision of immense destructive power, and on the other, well, you've got our everyday reality. To even begin to bridge that gap, we first have to understand what a laser actually is. Okay, so let's get into the physics a little bit, because the secret to both the incredible power and the surprising limitations of lasers, well, it all comes down to how they organize light. When you boil it all down, that's it. That's all a laser really is. It isn't just any old light. It's light that has been given a very specific set of marching orders through this really fascinating process called stimulated emission. To really wrap your head around it, think of it like this. A standard light bulb is like a totally chaotic crowd. You've got people shouting, running in every possible direction. It's a mess. A laser, on the other hand, that's like a perfectly trained marching band. All the energy is organized, it's synchronized, and it is moving in the exact same direction. So how do you create that perfect marching band? It happens in two basic steps. First, you have to pump a ton of energy into the system to get all the electrons excited. Then, you introduce just a single photon. Now, when that one photon hits an excited electron, bam! It causes that electron to release a second photon that is a perfect, identical clone of the first. And that kicks off this incredible chain reaction, creating a flood of identical, synchronized photons. This chain reaction is what gives a laser beam its two superpowers. First, it's monochromatic, which is just a fancy way of saying it's made of just one pure color. And second, it's coherent. And this is the really crucial part, which means all those light waves are perfectly in sync, like soldiers marching in lockstep. And that coherence, well, that's the secret sauce. It's the magic that allows a laser beam to stay incredibly narrow and focused. See, unlike a flashlight beam that just spreads out and gets weaker the further it goes, a coherent laser beam can travel for thousands of kilometers and barely lose its shape at all. Which, of course, brings us right back to our original question. If lasers are so precise and they can concentrate so much energy into one tiny spot, where are the blasters? Well, as it turns out, there are a couple of major roadblocks standing in our way. You know, we've already established that this destructive potential is very real. You absolutely can concentrate a whole lot of energy into a tiny spot. But trying to turn that potential into a portable, high-powered weapon, well, that's when you run into some really serious problems with physics. And here they are, the two big villains of our story: massive amounts of heat and, believe it or not, the air itself. These two factors are what keep those sci-fi weapons firmly in the realm of fiction. First up, there's the heat. See, as you try to pump more and more power into a laser to make it stronger, you generate a ridiculous amount of waste heat. And all that heat actually de-excites the electrons, completely breaking that delicate chain reaction we were just talking about. The laser basically just overheats and fizzles out. And second, let's say you could somehow solve the heat problem. The moment that powerful beam leaves the weapon, it runs smack into another enemy, the atmosphere. Every tiny particle of dust, every single molecule of air starts to scatter and absorb that light. The beam just gets weaker and weaker until, over a distance, it pretty much disappears. So here's the reality check. Can we use high-powered lasers for defense? Yes, but within some very strict limits. Taking out a small drone on a perfectly clear night? That's possible. But a powerful, ship-piercing cannon that can work in any kind of weather? For now, that is pure science fiction. But you know what? Maybe that's not such a bad thing. Because in the real world, our true mastery of light has way less to do with destruction and a whole lot more to do with something else entirely. And this is the big twist in the story. While we can't build blasters, we have used our understanding of light to achieve things that are, in a lot of ways, far more profound and, honestly, way more magical. Just think about what light actually does for us. That same incredible precision that fails in a blaster allows us to measure gravitational waves, actual ripples in the fabric of space-time. It scans our groceries at the checkout. It helps robots see and navigate the world. And it can even be used in light therapy to help people who are struggling with seasonal affective disorder. And this quote from our source material just captures the whole idea perfectly. We look to light not for brute force, but for healing, for knowledge, and for connection, from helping our bodies deal with long winters to helping our scientists navigate the entire cosmos. So in the end, yeah, the sci-fi dream of a laser blaster remains just that, a dream. But the reality of what we can do with light is, you could argue, even more incredible. Which leaves us with one final thought. If you had to choose, would you pick the sci-fi weapon or the real-world technologies that help us heal, connect, and understand our universe? It's something to think about. Thanks for watching.